Where are you from?
Belize, Central America.
So, how long have you lived in Chicago, and what neighborhood do you live in?
I've been living in Chicago since I was 3 years old, and I live in the Woodline area.
What role do you play in your community?
The neighbor on the street.
What is your definition of community?
My definition of community is a wholeness or a union that comes together and, have fun as one.
How have you been impacted by your community?
Well, with the people around my community, they're big on cleanliness, so I try not to litter, and since I developed that habit, I try not to litter anywhere else.
How would your life be different if you lived in a different city or town?
I feel like I probably wouldn't be as loud or as crazy because, people influence people. So my surroundings have always been just a little bit noisy and chaotic, and maybe it'll just be more calmer if I was someplace different.
If you could change anything about your community, what would it be and why?
I live in a nice neighborhood, but around us is kind of dirty. So, I'll try and pick up the trash or at least make it look better than what it looks. Because it's like they come in our neighborhood, they're like, oh, this looks nice. And then they go down the block and they're like, what happened? What's going on?
If you think hold on. How do you think your community is viewed by others?
I think people think our community is bad just because, the people around us or the other blocks that's near us. So I feel like they think, oh, this block is the same thing. They're shooting over there, so there's probably shooting over here, too.
If you think this view is wrong or unfair, is there a way to change how your community is viewed by others?
Yes, because instead of, having just our block come together as one, we should have all three of our blocks come together and try to stop the violence and see if we could change other people's opinion.
So all cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
They make Chicago such a big deal and think that it's such a bad place, but it's really not. I feel like we have more togetherness than other cities, and they only see the bad parts of Chicago. They don't really see the good parts, and I feel like the good parts cancel out the bad.
What are the top 3 issues that you would like to address with your community?
Noise. So, music and stuff, we need to work on that. Noise. Litter, we need to work on cleaning up. And dogs. They always have their dogs running loose or running around. And I don't like big dogs, and I'm not trying to get by anything.
If you were in charge of the media, what would you show? And what would you do to change the perception of how people view you in your community?
I would show just the good and bad parts of our neighborhood so they can see oh, that may be there, but there's also this part. There's also the happiness that they have. There's also the togetherness they'll have. And I hope that'll just impact other people to view their community the same way.
How do you see Chicago in the future?
I probably see, the way that the media plays a role now, I think Chicago might be pursued even worse in the future. But I just hope that one day our city could be shown as the good city, as the one that everybody wants to go to and everybody wants to come to.
Can this be prevented?
I have no idea what Chicago brings for anybody. There's always twists and turns, but if we work together, then maybe it can be prevented.
Any additional notes and comments?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.